All right, Alexander, let's answer the questions from the live stream we did with Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Firmware says, where is Jeffrey's article published?
And we've provided
In the description box links.
Exactly.
Yes. And as a pinned comment. Rafiq Adams says, Jay Sachs now on the Duran 3 times awesome. He's courageous given his position. The neoconservatives are the biggest national security threat to the U.S.
Yes, that's the answer.
Yes, they are. Controlled Demolition says, remember the Maine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Controlled Demolition also says the Cuban Missile Crisis happened because we had missiles in Turkey, and to resolve it, those missiles were removed.
Yes. I mean, Professor Sachs discussed that at length. I mean, by the way, the Maine, if I could just say, if people who don't know, it was an American warship that docked in Havana Harbor in 1898. It then blew up. Most people today now accept it was an accident, but it was used by the United States as a pretext to send its army into Cuba, which was at the time undergoing a revolution against the Spanish. And it was what established the United States as the dominant power in Cuba. So people talk about that. And remember, the Maine was the slogan that was circulated at the time in the American media to justify that war. And it was a false one because it was made out that the Spanish blew it up, whereas in fact, as I said, it was an accident.
Rafiq Adams says, what is the reason for a long delay in getting EMJ on the Duran? Is it fear of censorship, disagreement? Understandable, but disappointed. You two are on the front lines of national dissent logic. Make it happen, please. Don't make me beg.
EMJ?
E. Michael Jones.
Oh.
E. Michael Jones. Yeah, we're trying. It's it's a lot of work to get people on.
Exactly.
On
I mean, this isn't exactly, yes.
Rafiq Adams says, Jay Sachs makes it clear and understandable. Does he fear for his safety? These people are crazy.
I don't think he fears for his safety. And let's not talk in that way.
Elza, yeah, I agree. Elza says, March 2023, U.S. won't give depleted uranium missiles to Ukraine. June 2023, the U.S. wants to give depleted uranium missiles to Ukraine.
Yes.
How to negotiate.
Yes, this is exactly the escalator that we are on. You just see it. You say you won't do something, and then you do.
Annan Calrissian, thank you for that super sticker. Controlled Demolition says, please read or watch the Chinese piece Journey to the West, which is about confronting evil. Sun Wukong lives. For that. Greg D'Souza says, realists are saying China, China. It's just there. Can no one see China? Rafiq Adams says, the longer we delay negotiations, the greater the probability Russia will impose its own solution to the Polish border. Realistic to wait for new U.S. elections? What's Jay Sachs' view of RFK?
Well, I think he's discussed RFK, actually. Yes, I think you're right on every point, by the way.
Annan Calrissian says, the West only respects the language of force and power.
Unfortunately true.
456T123G says, may God help us with these problems beyond our ability to solve. The Prophet's wife.
They're not beyond our ability to solve. That we can solve them. What it requires is will. Our leaders don't have that will. Their will is directed to making these problems worse, and that's the problem.
Annan Calrissian 1345 says, good morning, gentlemen. I just wanted to say that I strongly believe the American public is not only oblivious and brainwashed, but complicit by voting for these criminals in government over many decades.
Well, there's some truth in what you say, but I mean, do bear in mind that the American people can only vote for those who are placed in front of them. And look what's happening in the US today. You know, the attempts to basically eliminate candidates who don't please the political class tells you how controlled this process has been. My own view is that, yes, you can criticize the American electorate, and they do make mistakes, but ultimately the best cure to the problems we have now is more democracy, not less.
Rafiq Adams says, question, can you urge Jay Sachs to make sure RFK does not appoint any more neocons to his administration if he wins?
I think that RFK has made it very clear he's not going to appoint any neocons. If he wins, I would advise him to seek the advice Professor Sachs.
Anas Belichabab says, are Biden and his family financially compromised somehow?
Yes. I mean, this has been talked about hugely, but of course they are, yes.
Dominique says, the U.S. outlook is dire. Huge debt, open borders, drugs, incitement of hatred, war with Russia, China, Iran, unreliable and unaccountable leaders, wokeism, indictment of the opposition leader. How do you see the USA future?
Well, I think it depends very much on what Americans do. It is far from too late to turn around. If America changes its policies, reconciles itself, seeks a rapprochement with its adversary powers. I say a rapprochement, I don't mean that it capitulate to them. I don't mean that it surrender any of its core interests to them, but just accept that they are what they are, and that we all have to live together and go about our separate ways. Then I think that the inner strengths of the US will very quickly manifest themselves. And I don't think the US has any reason to worry about peaceful competition.
Rafiq says, suggestion, can you do a panel discussion with J. Sachs, Scott Ritter, and Colonel McGregor? Maybe EMJ too, but that's probably a bit too much, LOL.
A huge challenge, what you're presenting. I mean, trying to organise something like that would be a colossal undertaking. Not saying it will never happen, but, just bear that in mind.
Yadrug Budevats says, U.S. and NATO plan for Ukrainians to kill as many Russian soldiers as they can. Then the U.S. believes it can step in to be the hero. NATO doesn't see it will fall out of the frying pan and into the fire.
I think very good points.
And Belly Button says the world is now lacking in strong, intelligent, articulate leaders who care about world humanity.
True.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your questions during the live stream with Professor Jeffrey Sachs.